Hello. So this PowerPoint is about California plumbing codes. And it's one that you really want to pay attention to if you want to take the water efficiency certification. It's not bad information otherwise, but there are always a lot of questions about California plumbing codes on the certification test. So let's get started. Plumbing codes have changed dramatically in the last 27 years, and those were originally set by the Federal Energy Policy of 1992. It basically set new flow rates, which was pretty important. It wasn't effective until 94. And in practical terms, it's when conservation really started to come to the forefront. Toilets were probably the first big appliance that was changed as a result of the 1992 Act. But then California set new rates yet again, new flow rates yet again in 1980. So you saw that ramp up again. And then in 2008, the California Green Building Code standards was set for new construction. That became effective in 2011. Other groups are important too, though, and one that you need to pay attention to is the International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials. There is always a question on the certification test about them. The way plumbing physically works is pretty important to whether you can get conservation or not. For example, shower heads are great if they're low flow, but if they don't actually work, nobody will ever use them, or they'll alter them so that they are high flow. So the IAMPO actually sets those plumbing codes every couple of years. The Irrigation Association is very large. They offer a lot of educational opportunities, but primarily they establish benchmarks and guidelines and best management practices for irrigation officials. That means that how landscape is watered all comes from the Irrigation Association. Since landscape irrigation accounts for generally about 80% of Southern California's water use, this is critical. Then a newer group is the Qualified Water Efficient Landscaper, or QUEL, and they offer standards-based training for irrigation practitioners. I actually took their class a few years ago, and I didn't give it a whole lot of thought. It was a one-day training. I took the test. I passed it. It was not difficult, but they've really picked up steam. If you haven't got your QUEL certification, I would urge you to get it. It is an easy one to get, and you will learn something from it, and it's becoming increasingly important in conservation. And then the last thing is MWELO, the Model Water Efficiency Landscape Ordinance. That was enacted by California, but what it really did is force localities, whether cities, counties, regional boards, to adopt and enforce landscape standards. And those standards are based on a water budget calculation. So this has become extremely important. I just wanted you to be aware of these. Here are the actual plumbing codes from 1975 through 2011. And you can see that there were some pretty dramatic changes made, especially in my mind, in toilets and clothes washers. Now in 1975, it shows that gallons per flush is 5.0 gallons per flush for a toilet. And then it's dropped all the way down to 1.28. This is the standard. You can actually get a toilet that is about 1 gallon a flush, but that is not the legal standard. That is called a stealth toilet. But the reason I'm bringing up toilets in particular is even though it says 5 gallons per flush, really it was probably closer to 10 gallons because over time toilets wear out and they tend to let more water through. Just like in 2011 where the standard's 1.28, you could buy a toilet at 1.28 in 2011, but over time that toilet's going to flush more water. Clothes washers have really changed, and they're measured in gallon per cubic feet, and that's called the water factor. So it's actually less than half of what it used to be. Everything else is not quite that dramatic. That's all there is to this little PowerPoint. But this little PowerPoint you should spend some time looking at because you're going to find questions on the water use efficiency certification test, as well as the midterm and the final. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.